I'm not paid to be a role model. I'm paid to wreak havoc on the basketball court.
There's the pass to Leitner. Puts it up. Yes! Is it the shoe?
I was going to rip his heart out. I'm the best ever. I'm the most brutal and vicious and most ruthless champion there's ever been.
One of the world's most talented athletes is retiring. It is true what somebody said today. There was Babe Ruth and Muhammad Ali and Michael Jordan and Wayne Gretzky.
Gretzky in front. Saved by Flaherty. The rebound. Score!
Favre just threw it perfectly right over him to Corey Bradford. Only Brett Favre could do that. I don't care what you say.
This is WHPC Sports Talk on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
Game on! Game on!
Good afternoon, sports fans. 4 o'clock on a Tuesday afternoon. This is WHPC Sports Talk on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. We got a busy Tuesday in sports. Busy night last night in sports. Mets got demolished. Yankees keep up their losing ways. Look to turn it around. We'll get into baseball. We'll get into some football later in the show. Maybe basketball if we have time at the end. I am Matt Leonard. I'm your host for this Tuesday. I am joined by Michael Merlo. What's up, Mike?
What's going on? How we doing today?
Great. As a Mets fan, it's hard, but right now, at least today.
Come on.
Today.
Come on.
Last night was embarrassing.
Sure, it's embarrassing. It was a clunker on a rainy night. I had no faith in the Mets last night. Just feeling you get before a game.
Once the rain hit, right? That was it.
Yeah, not even that. It's just, you know what? Last night only counts as one loss. You come back tonight.
All right.
Let's win a game tonight.
All right. Ross Levine, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. That was pretty embarrassing what I saw yesterday on both sides of the New York.
Probably the worst New York baseball night, I think.
This season.
It could have been this season.
It was awful. I mean, the fact that a positional player does better than any other real pitcher, that tells you a lot. That's sad. But congratulations to Darren Ruff. Congratulations.
He was great.
Ross, you cannot say they didn't acquire a good reliever at the deadline anymore.
Oh, my God.
Darren Ruff's deadline acquisition, he pitched better than any reliever we got. I don't want to hear it.
That's sad. That really is sad.
I don't want to hear it from you anymore. We don't got a reliever. Anyway, we do have a new face, a new voice in our studio today. Braden Daniello. How you doing, Braden?
Good, guys. Thank you for being so welcoming. Happy to be here, and we have a lot to talk about in terms of,
yes,
the Mets being absolutely demolished in the series opener in Atlanta. And, let's get down to it. I mean, not much that could go right that night. If there was a night, I think, in my opinion, that everything could go wrong for the Mets, it would be all summed up by last night's game, in my opinion. I mean, if anyone has different.
We'll get to that in just a second. I want to do a quick introduction on you, though, because obviously it's your first time. You shadowed us a few weeks ago. This is your first time actually talking on our... Yeah, last week. Sorry, my bad, Mike. My bad.
I just want to be,
factual. I apologize. We strive for 100% accuracy here. Braden, this is your first time over our airwaves, correct? Live?
Correct. That is true.
Tell us, who are your teams? What sports do you like? Tell the audience a little about yourself.
Obviously a big Mets fan. One of the biggest in my household.
Great, we like you here now. No. What else?
In terms of hockey, Rangers fans. So
we all like you more now.
Well, most people. I mean, hostile territory over here with the Coliseum across the street.
You're in a room with 3 Ranger fans right now. You're fine right now.
All right,
you're good.
So
you're good.
The most casual possible Ranger fans, but except for Ross.
Ross knows his stuff. Me and Mike, once the playoffs hit and they're rating, we're like, yeah, let's go.
I intend to change all of that soon, I hope. And Jets fan, very vaguely. And basketball, not really into, I'll be honest with you guys.
That's fair. The state of New York basketball has been great for a little bit, so I understand that. I mean, Mike here flip-flops every week who he roots for.
I think pretty soon there's a chance he'll be a Knicks fan, so we'll see what happens.
Let's go!
Wherever Donovan Mitchell goes is Mike's standpoint.
Yeah, I think that's where we'll be at. Or if the Nets are able to keep their 2 little girls that they have on their team.
Durant may retire, so,
No, if you read his Twitter yesterday...
I don't believe him!
Why don't you believe him? He just completely denied a stupid report that he would retire if the Nets didn't trade him. I pretty much believe him.
I believe most of the time when athletes say stuff themselves over the reports, I believe them, of course. But you really think Durant is not petty enough to just quit basketball because he doesn't get his way?
No, I think Durant actually likes the game of basketball.
I think he did.
And I think he truly cares about where he finishes legacy-wise, so I don't think he'll retire. I think he'll play.
I think it's better for the game of basketball if he stays, obviously.
You think so? That's a hot take.
Thanks, Mike. All right, let's get into... We're starting with the Yankees, right? We're still waiting on the...
No, I think
you want to do it?
I think you can start with the Mets.
Let's start with the Mets. Breaking news out of New York Mets world right now.
We think.
We believe, reportedly, that's the disclaimer out there, reportedly, Brett Beatty, the Mets' number 2 prospect in their system, great hitting third baseman, is being called up by the New York Mets.
We
believe.
If this story is actually true, I love this because you saw. First of all, they just need a jolt. They need a spark. Yesterday were just awful to watch, and watching Escobar just not fun to watch. Just not fun to watch. Sorry.
No. He only hits left-handed now. Four now.
He's bad with 2 good arms. He's not good. He sucks. He's even worse with 1 arm. But
Escobar, say whatever you want about him. He was scratched from the lineup today. So originally he was supposed to be in it. I'm guessing he's going on the IL at this point. If he cannot,
scratched means somebody's got to step in at third.
If he can't, Devin Marrero is going to step in today at third base. That's the guy they brought up originally.
That's right. They're not at home because Syracuse is too far from Atlanta.
Well, either way, they probably just found out about this an hour ago or so. So either way, Beatty wasn't going to start tonight. But yeah, I mean, you want to see this. The Braves, all they do is call up these young kids. I mean, Michael Harris is 21, 22 years old. Yep. They brought him up from Double-A. And if you listen to the story about how he got brought up, he thought he was going to Triple-A. He didn't even think that he was getting the call to the Major League roster. So you bring this kid up. He's been great for them in center field. You bring up this kid, Grissom.
He's hitting, like I said yesterday, he's hitting nukes.
The second baseman. He's huge, he's young, and he can hit the ball. So... you see it with your rival, and now if you have a young player who has hit at every level, he's rose through the ranks the last year and a half now, this makes perfect sense, especially with needs on the roster as of right now. If it is true, and I think it is, I really do believe that this is the right move. And we said it yesterday. I mean, we were mad yesterday.
They made good. Ross, what do you think of Billy Epler now? If this is true, what do you think of Billy Epler now?
Well, I love that he did this.
Okay.
I think he did this for a few reasons. One, because I think he knows Escobar's going to be on the IL. That's number one. Number two, I think he saw the disaster that was last night, and I think he was like, "Yeah, we need to do something." I really do. You lose 13-1. Yeah, you got to do something.
And I knew this was going to happen. Not with you, just with Met fans and spectators of baseball. Listen, they lose a game last night. It's whatever. You got to give them the benefit of the doubt with how great they've been so far this season. Nobody's going to react and hit the panic button over one game. And yes, Carrasco's out too. He's going to miss about a month of the season. He's got a little oblique strain, and I'll tell you reasons why I actually don't think it's the worst possible thing in the world to happen. But either way, I knew this was going to happen. The Mets are just fine. They have to find a way to split this series. And if they go 500 this week, the rest of the way, most likely, that will win them the division. So split this series, split over the weekend with the Phillies, and I'm perfectly fine with this.
Yeah, I'm glad Mike brought that up, because a point that I like to bring up, Keith Hernandez last night, along with, I think, Gary also.
Yeah.
They were talking about, and we talked about this before the show, how this next 2-3 weeks period is really the Mets gauntlet. And after that, like, once September hits, you have no one. You have, like, these teams that... obviously
the Pirates the way
the way the Mets have played this season, you will be confident going into September. So this is the real test. And if the Mets continue to play the way they've played, like, what are they? They're 15-5 in the last 20, I think, or something like that. Yeah, it's got to be close. If they keep playing like that in these next 3 weeks, September, you could really just pull away and put Philadelphia and Atlanta in your rearview mirror.
I think it's going to be, and we saw it last night. I think it's going to be very difficult to put Atlanta in the rearview mirror.
Well, Atlanta doesn't lose to anyone except the Mets. I mean,
that's the important one, though.
Yeah, that is the important one.
Last night they didn't, and yes, the Mets are, I think, 8-5 against them.
Yep, that's not bad.
No, it's really good. And if the Mets could win the season series, get to 9-10 wins, that's huge. Mm-hmm. But again, like we said, it feels like every team that they play, A, is bad, and B, rolls over for them. I mean, we talk about the Marlins every time when the Mets play the Marlins, and the Mets have handled the Marlins very well this year.
Yes.
They're very pesky. John Birdie becomes Babe Ruth. And
stealing bases as well.
And every pitcher that's not named Sandy Alcantara is a Cy Young candidate when they face the Mets.
Yep.
When they play the Braves, for whatever reason, they just roll over and say, okay, you have to have 4 wins this weekend, guys. Don't worry about it. Whoa. So I'm not making excuses. The Mets have beat up on bad teams, too. Don't get me wrong. But the Braves have done a very good job as well beating up on these bad teams.
And by the way, in terms of like the division as a whole, first of all, I'm not saying it's not important to win your division. It is.
Yeah.
But you got to remember something here, and this goes back to just bad luck. The Mets are 34 games above 500. They're 75 and 41. Okay. That should be better than a 4.5 game lead in your division as is right now. Let's be honest.
That isn't all in their control.
No, but that's my point. That goes back to my luck standpoint. If the Mets were, let's say they lost this division. Let's say they lost it, and they have to play a best of 3, and because remember, you're gonna have your 2 best pitchers in that 3-game series. And by the way, Chris Bassett's not too bad either.
Yeah, because the third pitcher, is no slouch.
The starting pitching this season, it reminds me a lot of the 2015 Mets. There's in a way, yes. And I'll tell you this, there's not a single day where someone is pitching that I don't think, okay, the Mets don't have a chance to win today. Yeah. It does not matter who you put out there between Scherzer, DeGrom, Bassett.
Right.
Carrasco now is going to be down a month. Walker.
Other than that one really bad game where he could have been hurt, whatever.
And then to back all that up, the good news about now Carrasco, well, not the good news, but at least the relief of him going down is even though you have David Peterson in the minors, who as a starter has been phenomenal. As a bullpen arm, his 2 outings he did terrible. Yeah. But as a starter, he's been incredible. I have nothing bad to say about him as a starter.
His numbers against Atlanta this year, what's impressed me the most about David Peterson.
I really like Peterson, and the one downside with Peterson is that he walks guys. His control isn't that great. So if he could figure that out with his stuff from the left side, granted, he has very good strikeout stuff. I mean, the way his ability to strike guys out, he's got some great off-speed pitches in his fastball. Yeah. The velocity has rose this season. So I like Peterson a lot. I think he's a solid 5. I think he's a 5 in most rotations.
Yeah. The championship at least.
And you also have to keep in mind that this is all happening without Tyler McGill. Which in the offseason, having him, he is signed, correct?
He's out
so that could help. If you lose someone this offseason, at least you have McGill. I think Buck was talking about maybe stretching him back out after he comes off the IL and then having him start next season.
McGill's going to come back. I think it's confirmed already that he's coming back in the bullpen.
He'll be a long relief guy, though.
And to be fair, who are you going to go? What starter would you go to and say, oh, yeah, you're not going to start anymore because our guy's back? You can't do it. They've all been great, like we said.
Unless somebody really gets hurt, like Carrasco, for a long period of time. And more than that, I think Peterson, if they had a depth chart, Peterson's above McGill for sure.
Yes, right now he is.
For the starting rotation.
And you also have to remember something. They changed the rule with the off days in the postseason.
That's right.
That came down yesterday, and Gary and Keith were talking about it a lot. And sure, it has its upsides for the Mets, 100%. But at the same time, it has its downsides. You have to extend that rotation. So a couple of those guys in the starting rotation that you thought were going to the bullpen, not including Peterson or McGill, because I think those guys either way are going there, but maybe a Walker or Carrasco who you thought you were going to have an extra arm in the bullpen. You no longer have that now because they're going to have to be stretched out and ready to go just in case you get to a longer, Game 6, Game 7, even Game 5 possibly. And the other thing, you're not going to be able to use Diaz in every game of the series. You're going to have to give him a couple of rest days.
Unfortunately true.
And that goes for everybody, obviously. You're playing on an even playing field. I just hate that, especially with the travel day. Imagine if the Yankees have to play Seattle or the Mets have to play the Dodgers. You're not giving them a travel day going across the country. That's a bad move. Why? Because Rob Manfred's lockout?
Yep.
Well, come on.
They're trying to end it as quick as possible. We read it the other day. We're doing the schedule came out. If Game 7 of the World Series happens, it'll be November 6th.
You're in November already. Who cares?
Yeah, exactly.
It's going to be cold. If there's a chance of snow, a week from there is not going to be a big difference.
I agree.
I just, even though I have my not with Carrasco being out, because you had a feeling he was going to get hurt at some point. He's in his mid-30s. I don't have a great feeling about this series. I'm sorry.
This Atlanta series now?
This Atlanta series, I don't feel good about this.
You got DeGrom and Scherzer starting Game 3 and 4.
I know, but what happened yesterday, and are the Mets going to be able to hit these pitchers? Because
they hit Morton pretty big time the last time.
You got to believe. I mean, they hit a lot of the pitchers when they played the 5-game stretch in New York. And
Odorizzi against Scherzer, I really like that matchup.
Great game for the Mets.
In Atlanta,
until from July until yesterday, really, he was amazing. I think he had a 1.96 in his last 7 starts before yesterday. So I'm not saying injuries are great. They're obviously not a good thing. But with the Mets' depth they have right now at starting pitcher,
it's not a big as concern as it's been in years past, where you don't like last season when injuries started to hit. Once DeGrom went down, it's like, who do you have to replace him? But now you have several significant options.
The depth is so great, especially in the starting rotation, that we haven't had this in years.
But you don't want to wear it too thin. It got to a point, earlier in the year when you didn't have DeGrom and Scherzer was out, and other guys were out as well, where it kind of ran thin a little bit, where you had Trevor Williams starting a game, and you're probably going to see Trevor Williams, who's actually has a 20-inning scoreless streak right now.
As a reliever.
Trevor Williams gets so much crap as a Met, and I can't stand it. I don't know why I'm the biggest Trevor Williams defender on this planet.
I love him as a reliever. As a starter, I never want to see him start a game ever
He's
again.
not bad. He's just not bad. And he's the best part of the Javi Baez trade, clearly. And
that tells you something.
Exactly.
That's not good.
He is probably going to start one of the games of the doubleheaders, because it was going to be Peterson in Philadelphia. So now you're going to see Trevor Williams most likely. So Williams cannot go at all from today on.
And it's, by the way, look, Williams is a guy that, had good moments with the Pirates. He was very good in the second half of that in 2018. This is a good audition for Peterson, those type of pitchers. And I'm going to tell you why. They have a lot of free agents in this rotation.
That is true.
Because you really think about Carrasco's a free agent. I don't know if they're going to bring him back. I mean, this injury, and he's getting up there in age.
He's most likely not coming back.
Yeah. Bassett, who I'd love to bring back if we could.
I think they will try to bring
DeGrom's going to opt out. Who knows?
Yeah, Walker's a player option. I mean, that you don't know. You have a lot of decisions.
Scherzer's the only guy that's really locked in, right?
Yeah, as of right now.
Like Scherzer, McGill.
I'm talking about the current 5.
It's a good audition.
Peterson, those are the 3 right now that are locked in. Yeah, Walker too, and Walker's going to get a hefty contract. I'm sure, not a hefty contract, but a nice contract.
Not quite DeGrom money or Scherzer money, but he'll make over 20, I think.
Not many people are going to make that kind of money.
No.
Yes, I would say around there. So yeah, the Mets have. I don't want to talk about free agency, obviously, because unless we're talking about DeGrom or Judge, because that's exciting.
Yeah,
but
we actually care.
Yeah, the Mets have a lot of decisions to make at the end of the season. I mean, I remember reading an article last week in the New York Post. If you wanted to keep everybody, right, like keep this team.
Yeah, like run it back.
The salary projections were, a little off. Diaz making $25 million a year.
No way. I love him. No way.
And DeGrom at 50, which I don't think he'll be at that.
Come on.
I think he'll be a little less than that.
Yeah,
about $345 million payroll to keep everybody from last year.
From
this season to next year.
Well, that's a great problem to have if you think about it, because that means everybody had such a good year that they're going to demand more money than they made now, which is a good and bad problem in a way.
Well, also an advantage that the Mets have now is Cone is willing to spend, unlike the Wilpons. But
he has the means. Go do it, Steve. Come on.
And Bassett, I think they'll look to keep. I mean, I out of all the guys that are obviously DeGrom, of course,
he's the most important, but Bassett is really solid. He loves this team. He loves being in New York.
Yeah, he's really solid. And
you can't say that about DeGrom confidently, can you?
No, and I love him as a pitcher, and he's great, and he's maybe one of the best pitchers I've ever watched.
Yeah. I think he is.
He probably will.
The best you ever watched?
I think he's the best I've ever seen.
In your lifetime?
In my lifetime, he's the best pitcher I've ever seen. He may be the best player I've ever seen. Like, most dominant player.
When he's healthy.
When he's healthy.
Yeah.
And if he went, I was saying this to my friends over the weekend. If he went deeper into games, not this year, obviously, because
you
still
have to
coming back
him out again.
But even last year and in other years, if he went deeper into games, I don't think it'd be even a question. Oh. And by the way, I forget who said this. It may have been Al Leiter, but I don't know. But it's a great point. Can you name a player that is so great when they're at their peak, like DeGrom is?
Yeah.
And then, think of a close second. There's no close second.
Currently?
DeGrom is so great. Yeah. Judge, right now, this season, is the best position player, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
He's having a historical year.
Yes.
Yeah. But there are guys close to him.
That's true.
Offensively, there are guys that are in his category. DeGrom is playing in another league, and he's been that way for years now when he's healthy.
That's the thing, though, if he's healthy.
So I think at his peak, I don't think there's anybody better than DeGrom that I've ever seen with my own two eyes. Better than Kershaw, better than Verlander, better than even Scherzer at his
I have a few names for you, just to throw out there just for guys that could be better in our lifetime. Randy Johnson.
Sure.
Pedro Martinez.
Pedro, I'm kind of not counting in my lifetime because I believe Pedro.
I'm not talking Mets Pedro. I'm talking Red Sox Pedro,
which is why I was not alive. Pedro is the greatest pitcher of all time.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah, and if Steve Cohen, again, I don't know what he thinks of pitchers because once every fifth day, but. You got to make sure that guy does not pitch in another team's organization. I mean, that guy's
or at least in your division.
At least in your division.
Well, and right now they're talking about it. There has been rumors of Atlanta being the front runner, which that would be the biggest nightmare for any Mets fan.
It's not true. I don't believe that. I don't.
I hope. I hope it's not.
I do believe that Atlanta put something out there to say that. I don't believe he's going there at all.
If Atlanta's that great of an organization, and
they are.
Where are they getting the money though?
And that's the thing too. Like if they're that concerned with DeGrom's injury, which I think even Met fans are concerned as well, I think why would the Braves do it? If they're that concerned, why would they give him $45-50 million a year? To me, it just doesn't make sense for a great organization like that.
You know what though? When we talk about the contract that DeGrom is going to get, I think it's going to be 3 years at $135 million, which is about $45 million a year. You could add a year, drop a year with opt-outs because I think there will be opt-out. Yeah. So that's kind of that's my feeling on DeGrom. But now let me ask you this.
I was going to ask, would you still give that contract out knowing his health concerns the past couple of years? Because, yes, it is someone like Jacob DeGrom. And I'll be the first to say, someone like Jacob DeGrom, like what Mike...
Yeah.
Jeez. What Mike brought up, Jacob DeGrom is that good. He is the guy that when he's pitching, you turn on the TV just to watch him.
If he was on baseball, do that.
If he hasn't had any injuries, you're looking at 4 years, $200 million. That's
absolutely.
That's what you're looking at. But with the injuries, you're taking it down a little bit. Would I do it if I was the Braves? If I was the Mets? 100%. Because 3 years at $135 million, it's $45 million a year. So is it worth it? 100%. It's low risk when it comes to the length of the contract. So that's kind of what I'm thinking with that.
Okay.
And the Mets, listen, if he pitches the rest of this season and he's healthy, there's no doubt that the Mets should do it. And it's not my money, so I don't care. $45 million a year, yes.
The amount of games you go to, a percentage has to be your money.
Yeah, a little bit. I save on the food though when I get the free food.
The Hyundai Club, of course. Yeah,
I save on that. But you got to do it. And if he walks and he goes to the Dodgers, if he goes to the Yankees, God forbid, if he goes to...
Don't even plant that idea in my mind. If he goes to the Yankees.
If he goes to the Braves, I mean, that's worst case, and you can't let that happen. Just ask yourself this. Did Max Scherzer want to be here before he talked to Steve Cohen and got that contract offer? The answer is no.
That's true. And I think money does talk.
It's going to be all about the money. It's going to be all about the money. I think... he's upset, and I think John Heyman actually said this last week. I think he's upset with the organization for a few reasons. I think he's still pissed at Sandy Alderson.
Really?
Well, then why is Sandy there then still?
No, this isn't Kevin Durant. He's not going to go fire Sandy or keep me.
But if you're going to...
Sandy's not really baseball operations. I'm confident
his role is different than it was when they re-signed DeGrom for that extension.
Look, if that's in the way of keeping DeGrom is Sandy Alderson, if that's what it is, then get rid of Sandy and keep DeGrom.
But Sandy's in a minor advisor role now. It's not like he's the GM anymore.
No, this is what I think it also is. I think he's mad that he signed the deal.
Yeah.
And he's blaming the Mets, which is
unfair, should not,
which is unfair, and that's what it is. He's blaming the Mets for his own fault, and I think, and that's where I don't like DeGrom. Like, I love him as a pitcher. He's again one of the best pitchers I've ever seen, but human wise, in terms of the what's it called, the greediness, I guess.
Greed, yeah.
That's what I don't like. I'm sorry. I'm not on the side of the player on that one.
I think he's delusional if he doesn't blame himself and his agent for that deal, and he blames the New York Mets.
That's right.
They offered you a deal. You can they're willing to negotiate with you. It's like if Aaron Judge took his deal and blamed the Yankees.
Yeah.
And the same kind of thing. In the offseason, Aaron Judge took the lower money.
Yeah.
DeGrom could have bet on himself like Judge. Probably would have made more money. He won the Cy Young in the next 2 seasons after that.
And he'd be pissed, obviously, if Judge did win MVP this year after signing the contract. He'd be mad, but you can only be mad at your agent.
Or
one thing that he's mad at Sandy Alderson about is not the contract. It's about last season when
the injury. Yeah.
He had reported that DeGrom had a slight tear of the UCL, which with whatever he had in the UCL, like the soreness or whatever, Alderson was trying to make the argument that, well, technically it is a slight tear, although it doesn't require surgery and it's not that big of a deal.
It's not like Tommy John, he didn't blow it out.
It's technically that, and DeGrom, a few days later, it was the first time I really ever seen the guy mad, and he was like, it's not. It is not a slight tear. I don't know what he's talking about. That's what it was. That was in Miami, too. I remember that. That was last year.
Yeah, it's not. It's
not what you want.
Sandy. It's not what you want. I just don't like Sandy. I'm not an Alderson guy. I'm sorry. I'm not a big fan of him.
I liked him when he was the GM, mainly because 2015 always had a soft spot in my heart, and he was a big part of that. So
he is the Lou Lamoriello of MLB.
Oh, come on!
I'm sorry. It's very similar. It is very similar. You gotta remember something. These guys. Sandy Alderson was back in the 90s with Oakland.
Yes.
Okay? He knows what it's like without the whole payroll, the whole...
He was like one of the Moneyball guys, yeah.
Yeah. It was so much different back then. Now it's so much... It's different. It's there's so much things at play. I don't know. To me, I feel like the game's passed him by. Great. I mean, again, great with Epler in terms of game pitching. Yeah. I love what he's done. Getting Marte and those guys, Kanye, great. I'm not a big Alderson guy. He made it to the World Series, give him credit, but
Alderson's not. Alderson's not doing anything right now to affect the team. He's on the business side.
No, not now. I'm just not. When he was the GM, I just was not a big fan of him.
All right,
that's all.
Fair enough.
I think these Yankees.
Let's get to the Yankees in a minute.
Let's talk. Can I actually say something?
What's up?
I have 2 things.
Go ahead.
Not Yankee related.
Okay.
Number one. No. Did you guys see this video of the fans screaming at Tony La Russa last night?
Yeah! To pitch it out of
He wanted to pinch run. Is his first name Adam Engel?
Yeah, Adam Engel.
Adam Engel, who was on the bench. Eloy Jimenez had a single or a double, whatever. And this fan who was right next to the dugout was screaming at Tony La Russa, who was kind of on the first step of the dugout. And then he looks over and he hears the guy, and a pitch is about to be thrown. And Sleepy Tony walks up and he waves at the umpire time, and they call time, and he pinch runs Engel.
The best thing, I saw this on Instagram, and in the comments section, everyone is tweeting that the fans are really better coaches than Tony La Russa is for the White Sox.
They had the guy on local Chicago radio right before we got on. He was like, it was a business trip for me. He goes, I was trying to win that game. And they ended up coming back and beating the Astros last night.
The best part about it, Adam Engel scored.
Yeah.
A pitch or two later.
It worked out.
So
to use Anthony's favorite word to describe Tony La Russa, he's a curmudgeon.
I actually I couldn't believe it. And really, Tony La Russa is still being employed. Excuse me.
Tony is when he says the game has passed you by, that's
please, yeah. He's a Hall of Famer for what he did, but what he's doing now, though, is a whole... Can they take him out? Is that allowed?
He legitimately looks like he's falling asleep. And the other thing is Tatis and his dad.
Come on, this is ridiculous.
He can't make him and his family look any worse.
His dad was a Met. I liked his dad as a Met, and I've lost all respect for the whole family.
The first excuse for ringworm, I'm like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. And
they doubled down with a new story.
Now there's a new story about a fungus with a haircut after a haircut. And he says that there's no, testosterone, no performance-enhancing drugs in this, even though it's a banned substance. And Tatis Sr. is saying that MLB made a mistake, and they're going to lose thousands of fans for the mistake they made by suspending his son. Please shut up and go away until you come back.
If anybody has not seen Fernando Tatis Jr., look him up. This guy hasn't gotten a haircut in 10 years. There's no way.
In all seriousness, I used to be a guy, I like Tatis. He was exciting. He's great for baseball. Yeah. I could give a crap anymore. I am actually rooting against him at this point for the rest of his career. I don't know if I said this yesterday, but it has an effect on the Mets, too. The fact that the Mets gave out the contract to Lindor, they had to beat Tatis's contract at 10 years, $340 million. And obviously Lindor gets $341. But this is the Padres' fault for not doing their due diligence and giving a ton of money to a very immature human being. And then that's what they did, and it's their mistake, and it ends up affecting the Mets.
Wow. I never thought about that. That's an amazing point. Wow.
I can't take credit for that. I have to give Andy Martino credit for that.
But if you're in Tatis's shoes at this point, you can't keep throwing excuses out there anymore. I mean, and all of his teammates, you hear Machado talking about it. He's like, and Clevenger, you have to hope the kid grows from this. But the last thing you do is you don't start making excuses for your own mistakes. It's a mistake. That's what it is. That's all it can be.
How many chances do you get? Because, again, we talked about it yesterday with the motorcycle accident. How many chances can you actually get to mature with money like this? He got the contract, then he's out, on the motorcycle, falling off.
Breaks his wrist.
Then you brought up the point about him playing soccer before one of the games earlier in the year. I forgot about that.
He was so lucky he didn't get hurt. If you watch the video, his ankle rolled over and he fell on his head.
And then you have this now with the PEDs. I mean, come on.
But this is what happens with a lot of guys. When you get paid big contracts, they don't care as much. You've already got your reward. Why are you trying? Trust me, I'm not defending Tatis. That's what it is.
Well, we got news on Tatis real quick. The Padres have canceled their Fernando Tatis bobblehead giveaway set for September 7th. It'll be replaced with a Juan Soto City Connect jersey. That somehow may be worse. Those uniforms are the ugliest things I've ever seen.
It's good. Good for them.
I can't stand the Padres anymore. I never rooted for them. Now I'm so hard against them.
Well, now Tatis has changed the perspective on everyone's organization. And obviously, you don't want to listen. Tatis is a great player, but the amount of respect he's lost from this, and obviously you hope that he earns it back, but it's going to be tough to. I mean, on top of the fact that obviously then you make all these excuses, like you said, you have to own up to it. If you don't own up to it, you get to one of those points where people aren't going to like the athletes. And
you look like A-Rod. If we're being honest, you look like A-Rod.
Even, remember last season late when the Padres collapsed and you had that incident with Machado screaming in the dugout. It just shows.
People faulted Machado for that, and looking back, Machado was the leader of that team.
Maybe
this year.
I mean, Machado is what he is, and there was a video a couple weeks ago when they were playing the Dodgers. With that ground ball hit to him and bounced off of him, and then he just walked to the ball in the outfield and it ended up.
I didn't think he got it. I think he watched as the left fielder got it.
Yeah,
Profar had to come in and field it.
But and those are things you obviously don't like Machado for. But he may have been right in the situation with Tatis.
Wow.
And
all right, we'll get to the Yankees in a second. You are listening to WHPC Sports Talk on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC. It is Matt Leonard, Michael Merlo, Ross Levine, and Braden Daniello. Got it, right?
Yes,
Thank God. All right, let's get to the New York Yankees now. I'm at the point, and you guys all know how I feel about the Yankees. I do not like the New York Yankees. It is very apparent. 516-572-7440 if you're a Yankee fan, Met fan, whatever, want to call in and talk about the Yankees. The Yankees are now 2-8 over their last 10. They've been, it seems, losing for a very long time now, and that's just the truth. The last easily 2 months, month and a half maybe, the Yankees have not been the same team we saw to start. They get shut out 4-0 in the Bronx last night by the Tampa Bay Rays. I'm going to ask you, Ross, as the Yankee fan in the room, you hitting the panic button?
I would say yes. I think it's getting closer to that panic button.
Okay.
I think they look lifeless. I mean, if you really think about it, I mean, they had the bases loaded 1 out in the fourth, double play. Aaron Hicks ran back up the middle. This offense is by far not the same. And I understand there's injuries, but I'm not going to make excuses for them.
The worst part is Garrett Cole had a good outing yesterday, and he's been a little up and down lately, but he had a great outing yesterday.
He got the DeGrom.
He got the DeGrom treatment.
Yeah, and look, I know there's injuries. I know Stan's out. I understand Rizzo's out. I understand that, but I'm not going to make excuses because the Yankees over the last 30 years they've been able to handle the injuries pretty well. This year, no, they have not. And look, the lineup they're putting out there, and again,
yes, I wanted to get to this.
But Boone, this is what makes me miss Joe Girardi. I still love Joe Girardi because, and
that's bold.
I know he was terrible in Philadelphia. I get that, but the Phillies, let's be honest, they're not a great organization.
They're not the Yankees. They're not.
And also the Phillies, it's hard to manage the Phillies.
It's not what you want.
It's not what you want. But look, this is why Girardi won a World Series. And this is why Boone's not going
What
to.
lineup do you want him to put out there, though? And I'm going to grab the lineup for tonight because it's really bad.
The problem I have from last night's lineup was, I wrote it on the sheet here, yes, the guy had 2 hits to it, 2 for 4. Why is Gleyber Torres batting first?
It doesn't make sense.
Whose idea was that?
That makes no sense.
Who do you want leadoff? Who do you want? I'm going to read you the lineup tonight.
Okay.
Who do you want leadoff? So Torres is leading off.
That's the problem.
This is tonight. Okay. Judge in center playing second base. And you got Rizzo, Donaldson, Trevino, Benintendi, Andujar, IKF, Marwin Gonzalez, and then Nestor Cortez is starting tonight. Who do you want leadoff? The only guy I could even consider in that spot is Andrew Benintendi.
That's what I would say.
Yeah, that's what I would say also.
By the way, he has not been a great Yankee so far. No. So how are you going to trust this guy batting leadoff?
I have no problem in Gleyber Torres batting up in the lineup with the injuries. I think first is not the right place for him to bat higher in the lineup. That's my problem with Torres batting there. You want to even hit Torres fourth. I don't even care about that. When there's injuries, fine. I don't think leadoff is his spot, though. I don't like that. I'd rather bat Judge leadoff than Torres.
Yeah, and I don't know. I'm not going to go crazy over it when he hasn't been great of late, and he did have a 2-hit night the other day.
Yep.
But I'm not going to go crazy over him batting leadoff. They don't have many guys in this lineup right now. They got to try different things, and that's what he's trying to do at this point. Sure, it could mess with people. The fact that you're not batting in the same lineup every time, same spot every time. I get that. But with a team like this right now who's struggling, who does not have many guys there, familiar faces there, you have to try whatever you can. And the reason why I'm hitting the panic button on this team is because the division, yes, has a bunch of solid teams, doesn't have a dominant team other than the Yankees. So the Blue Jays haven't taken advantage. The Rays haven't taken advantage.
And they had all the opportunity to for the last 2 months.
The Orioles have a little bit, but...
Well, compared to past season, Baltimore's been great.
Right.
Well, they were never in divisional contention from the jump.
Right, but I'm just saying they are winning games when the Yankees weren't.
Looking at the past season, for them to be in a wild card, you're like, wow.
The only team winning games in the division while the Yankees were losing were the Orioles. That's what I'm saying. So overall, the division has a bunch of better teams.
Yeah.
But... they don't have a Braves in their division. Even a Phillies right now. They don't even have the Phillies in their division right now, the New York Yankees. The Braves would be a game behind the Yankees right now. That's just, for example, what the two divisions have been. And it's funny, we're sitting here hitting the panic button on the Yankees, and the vibes around the Mets are pretty good, and now they call up Beatty. They're even better.
Right.
But... the Yankees have double the Mets' lead in the division right now, but it's just the way the teams are playing and the teams in your division.
And again, that's why I say bad luck, good luck Yankees, the bad luck for the Mets, because of the record. And the Mets have the same best record in baseball, and they're only up by 4.5. Again, that's not the Mets' fault. I'm not blaming the Mets. I hate the Braves. But
they're pretty good.
And the Phillies, they fired Joe Girardi and...
somehow got really hot, really fast.
40 and 20 in the last 2 months. Almost.
Yeah,
I love how Girardi gets fired and the bullpen knows how to throw the baseball now.
See, that's the thing though, and look, I'm not. By the way, when they fired Girardi, and I'm not saying they shouldn't have done that. They had the right to do that. They did the right thing, but. To say that pitchers are better because Girardi's gone, stop. I mean, it's
not because he's gone. I maybe lit a fire into them or something, but everybody being that much better.
Come on.
They were terrible when he was there.
And the use of guys, remember, he wouldn't use guys 3 days in a row. I don't listen. The fact that Sir Anthony Dominguez is pitching as well as he has, I think, also has to do with getting more comfortable. He's been out a very long time. Using Knebel in a big spot. They've lowered Knebel's role a little bit. That was a good move, and that happened when Thompson took over. Then they go and they trade for Robertson. He's the setup guy.
I wanted him on the Mets so bad.
Brad Hand.
I was so mad.
Brad Hand has pitched well. He's pitched better, and he was pitching okay with Girardi there. Now he's in a real role now. He's been better. So I think a lot of it has to do with the manager, the way you're using the bullpen.
I think that when players are like, I'm not saying players are saying this, but you're striking more guys out because the manager's gone. I don't know how much I buy into it. I'm not saying Rob Thompson's not done a good job. He's done a great job.
From where the Phillies were to where they are now.
He should be in manager of the year discussions. I mean, he's not going to win it, obviously, but he should be in the discussion for sure. I mean, he might be second.
Yeah, but I don't. Here's the thing, and the Phillies have been great. They've been outstanding.
Yep.
They played the softest schedule in MLB. I mean, they're playing the Reds.
This stretch, yeah.
Yeah, they barely won yesterday against the Reds, 4-3. I mean, it's not like they're playing great teams, and when they do play them, they're like barely winning.
Before we go back to the Yankees, there's an option on Carrasco. So if he doesn't reach 170 innings, it becomes a $14 million club option with a $3 million buyout.
That isn't that bad.
If he gets to 170 innings, the $14 million option is guaranteed. So essentially, if he does not get to $170 million and the Mets want nothing to do with him next year, he will get the Mets just buy him out for $3 million.
And he's not our problem anymore.
And he's not the problem anymore. If I don't know what they want, or they can bring him back for $14 million. I don't know what his market's going to be. I think maybe around $15, $16 million, or right around where that buyout is. I don't know.
Does he have a choice of a mutual option, or they can just say 14 is your salary, come here?
I think that's what it is. So I don't know. We'll see what happens with that.
Okay.
I'm not 100% positive, but we'll look.
Let's finish up with the Yankees stuff because I want to get to the NFL.
Yeah.
What do I think the Yankees need to do to pick up their way they're playing? Because I genuinely feel with how well they played early in the year, the New York Yankees can get hot any day now, and I wouldn't be surprised.
You know who I feel bad for?
Who's that?
Aaron Hicks. I mean, statistically, there's actually a stat that shows that he's the worst player in baseball right now.
Wow.
But I feel bad for him. He had an awful night last night.
He did.
He's been off. I think last night at one point he was 5 for 50 with no extra base hits in his last 50 at bats, and he made, it really was just a very embarrassing play in center field, which led to the run, which ended up giving Cole a loss.
Yep.
He owns up to it. He's not Gallo making, excuses.
I can't leave my house.
Or other guys making excuses. Yeah. He was like, that was embarrassing. I need to be better. He owns it. And we've got to respect that. And I genuinely feel bad for a guy like this who's in a situation right now where he has to play. If the Yankees were fully healthy, this guy's on the bench. We know that. But he's forced to play right now because of the situation. And, sure, I don't want to feel bad for a guy that has 3 more years of, $10 million guaranteed, but I do.
Yeah, I feel bad. He was a very good outfielder for a while. He was very good outfielder with the Twins. He was good with the Yankees for a few years. He was. And look, I feel bad for him. Look, those players that you're on a winning teams and the player just get the most criticism, I feel bad for those guys. Like even Gallo, I felt bad for, like even to a stretch, just because he seemed like a good guy, and and look, good for him. He's found some success with LA, but I feel bad for them because I know it's not easy to play in with the Yankees, and look, it's not easy to play in New York in general. I mean, let's be honest. There's
True. In any sport.
In any sport. It's why like I always say when players leave that New York team and they go somewhere else and they succeed, you can't keep saying like, oh well, if we kept him, they'd be good. No, it doesn't work that way. You gotta go by what you've seen, and what you've seen has not worked out. So you have to, you can't regret it.
That's true.
And by the way, Gallo's actually producing for the Dodgers.
Yeah. He's raking in LA.
And I would say he's raking, but he's got a couple of homers. His average is around 263, which obviously limited
for him. That's raking.
Yeah, compared to the Yankees, that's pretty.
Well, he's finally batting over his weight. That's
I don't even think he has 20 at bats, but yes, he's pitching. He's hitting well. I should say he's hitting well for them, so that's a good thing.
You still think if the Mets don't make the World Series, Gallo will be World Series MVP for the Dodgers?
I probably Rizzo last time. I mean, you kind of could tell
that was embarrassing. I understand he's frustrated. That's embarrassing.
No, the call was terrible. Obviously,
I agree.
It was a hit by pitch, and the way he reacted after just shows you like where they are right now. I
don't agree with any player reacting that severely. I don't care if your team's lost 20 in a row. I don't care if it's a pitch right down the middle. Angel Hernandez calls it a ball.
You know what? the game has so many emotions. He didn't curse anybody out. He didn't hurt anybody. He didn't hurt himself.
Stuff.
He didn't hurt anybody. He didn't hurt himself. You can't hear him cursing. He's not being inappropriate.
To me, it's like when David Ortiz in Baltimore smashed the bullpen phone with his bat.
It's raw emotion. Yeah. I liked it, and it's interesting to see from a guy who you really don't see it from.
That's true.
A really good guy, too, Rizzo is.
Yeah, it's
He's been that guy's whole career.
Yeah, look, when you're frustrated, as long as it's not on a player, it's okay. It's okay. Remember Brett Gardner? He did with the bat with the ceiling.
I didn't like that, but I thought it was funny as hell by the third time.
I loved
by the third time, that was funny.
Didn't he get ejected eventually for doing it?
Yes.
Yeah.
that was pretty funny by the third time. Oh.
By the way, if you have nothing to do tonight, if you're not watching one of the local teams, I'm probably going to have both games on, but the White Sox and the Astros, you have Justin Verlander versus Dylan Cease.
That'll be fun.
They're both the two favorites in the AL Cy Young
Who do you think is the edge?
The way the money is right now, I would say I would pick the White Sox.
No, I'm talking about the Cy Young race.
Oh, Verlander. Verlander should win it, but we'll see what happens. Cease has been really, really good, too.
I would go Cease if he keeps it up.
Now, right now, Verlander.
I agree right now.
Verlander is having a better year than he was having in his MVP season in 2011.
That's insane.
So that just shows you.
But Judge is so inhuman, he's not got to come near MVP.
And by the way, just to add something to this.
Yeah.
Verlander is a free agent after this year. So just imagine the contract he's going to be looking.
Don't get me excited.
No. Definitely not for the Mets.
No, if DeGrom walks. That's what I'm saying.
Not a bad backup plan, but it's almost the same situation where he's going to get $40 million. Are you willing to give $40 million to a guy that's older and just recently had a massive injury history? I don't know.
True.
But, yeah, we'll see.
Let's get into the NFL now quickly before we wrap up the show. So, Zach Wilson had surgery today, correct?
He had the procedure done. He's all good.
A bone bruise and a torn meniscus, what they said for Zach Wilson. The ACL fear is off the table. Thank goodness Jets fans can breathe.
Well, the meniscus is, it's like a slight tear. They had to pare it back a little bit. Nothing
the good
major.
news is no major damage. Yeah.
If it was a total tear, he'd be out a very long time.
Yeah. That is very true.
So, all good to go. You wrote here, Flacco has stepped in at Jets camp. Flacco, according to everything we've seen, I don't know if you've seen this too, Ross, Flacco's had a better camp overall.
I've heard that when Wilson was healthy,
than Wilson, even when Wilson was healthy. So Flacco coming in, I believe, actually gives them a better chance to win the first couple of games than Wilson does. A really tough team in the Ravens. I think the
revenge game for Flacco.
I think the Jets have a better chance with the veteran and Flacco. And then going on the road, even though Watson won't be there, against a tough Cleveland team.
Yeah.
And then even Pittsburgh. I think the week after. I think Flacco gives them a better chance to win those games than Wilson would.
His whole division, and his whole team is one of them, so he knows what he's doing.
I mean, he hasn't been there in a while, but
Flacco I think he could hold the fort. I don't think he's going to carry you, but I think he could hold the fort down. And what I know with Flacco is he's going to hold on to the football. He's not going to turn it over that much. And what worries me with the Jets, I think, is defensively. I think defensively they're going to struggle a little bit this year, but you want to be competitive. I think the Jets are going to be competitive. I think they're going to win, not in terms of wins, but they're going to be competitive in terms of their games won't be over in the first half.
Like the Lions last year, they'll be pesky.
Yeah. This team isn't winning many games. I mean, the schedule is difficult.
Yeah.
The defense better be better. It has to be. It has to be better.
With the talent they're getting back and adding, it's got to be.
For Rob Saleh's sake, a defensive coach who comes in here, defensive coordinator, a great one in San Francisco, brings guys in. He's got Mosley here. He's getting Lawson back. They drafted well. They have Ahmad Sauce Gardner here now. That defense better be better, and if they're not, that is a massive knock on Saleh, and then you're going to have to question. I know he's not the defensive coordinator still, but you're going to have to question things with him if the defense is not better. Because he is the overall CEO of the team.
Real quick, out of Giants camp, they're announcing, according to Coach Brian Daboll, actually, Tyrod Taylor may get some first-team reps for the Giants. Quick answer, do you think Daniel Jones' job is in jeopardy week one at all?
Yes. I read that this was expected, that this was supposed to happen.
Okay.
But I think if you're reading what you've seen from camp, that he's been so bad, I don't think it's surprising. No. I still think he'll start week one, Jones, unless it just gets atrociously bad. But he should start week 1. But I agree with Ross. By mid-season, Tyrod will be the starter of this team.
Is that an improvement, you think, for the Giants?
Yes. I think
if Daniel Jones stinks it up, obviously.
I think they'll win more games if Tyrod Taylor was a starting quarterback than Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
I'm at that point now, and I've done a complete 180 from maybe even 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. It's why I think this year is such a throwaway season. I don't think they're going to win many games. And honestly, look, I'm not... It's why I say I hope they win 2 games, and I hope they get the first.
Bryce Young, Will Anderson.
Yeah, I really do. I don't because I don't. Tyrod's not the future, and
obviously,
and Jones clearly is not. So
at this point, no.
And I want Dable to draft his own guy. I want Shane to draft his own guy, and I want him. I want them to get their fingerprint on this team.
I also want to. I want Dayball and Wink and even the offensive coordinator. I think Shaka's his name. Kafka. I want them to show like. This was the player. This is not us.
Yeah, of course.
Well, we're down to the wire, almost ending of our show, and we usually I like to do final thoughts with you guys usually, and we're gonna do that. But we're gonna put a spin on our old friend Eric Fichetti's classic. He's always used to bring in the closer, right?
Sure.
Let's bring in the closer, shall we?
Wow.
Yes.
All right. Mike, what do you got for us?
Need a nice bounce back. Again, whether the Mets win or lose tonight, you want to see improvement. They got to come out and play well. I'm very excited with this Beatty news. I mean, this is the first time. Huge. This is the first time in a while where the Mets have brought up a legit prospect in the middle of like when they were winning since Conforto.
Yeah,
the Mets don't do this very often, so this is cool and I'm excited. So bounce back from the Mets tonight. Let's see what they can do.
Ross, final thought on the day?
I'm looking forward to seeing what the Giants, Kayvon Thibodeau. I hope he's really good.
Yep.
And good luck to Tyrod Taylor. I know Jones not going to be the guy.
All right, Braden, you got a final thought for anything in sports? Go.
Mets got to at least split the series, and if they can, you head to Philadelphia and you try and take 3 or 4 there, and then you got the Yankees the following week.
All right.
LA following that, and take it from here. It's day by day. It's what the Mets got to do.
It's not like a professional athlete being you take it day by day, one game at a time, My final thought, I'll make this quick. Josh Umahi, you weren't here today. I'm not calling you out for that. That's fine. You're apartment shopping. Enjoy. I'm calling you out because you sent me an article about a fight that broke out at Packers and Saints joint practice today. I'm a Packers fan. Josh is a Saints fan. And we argue back and forth who's going to be better this year. Josh, you're not winning your division. You're getting smacked around. Okay? They're going to be good. The Packers are going to be better, Josh. Direct message at you.
You better hope so. I'm not in love with your Packers this year.
We'll talk about that another time.
And I actually love the Saints win total over 8.5.
Oh, that's definitely going to happen. But we got to get out of here. For Ross Levine, Braden Daniello, and Michael Merlo, I am Matt Leonard saying thank you for listening on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.